how healthy Drew Brees is going to be, assuming he comes back, because I don't think we know. You got to remember, when Drew Brees elected to stay in that game, he didn't know how significant his injuries were. Do we really think that if Sean Payton, even Drew Brees himself, or dare I say Mrs. Drew Brees, knew that he had a cracked ribs and a collapsed lung, that you would have put him back out there? We got to take that into consideration. Jeff, you know this better than me because you played football. We didn't. Just like I said to Marcus Spears, you know what? A lot of things happen later on. If you realize the severity of a situation later on, if you realized it in that moment, you would not have taken those chances. So the point of reflection needs to be brought into the equation here. I think when you look at the Saints right now, it's a huge question mark about the future of Drew Brees. Overall, I think if he comes back, he retires at the end of the season. And that's assuming he comes back. And I think at this moment in time, it is an assumption. As Max would say, 40 plus years. As I say, dust collecting on that birth certificate. You combine that with a rib injury and a collapsed lung. You know this, Jeff. You do get hit in the ribs as a quarterback more than you get knocked upside your head, because that's an instant penalty. So that's target practice for a lot of dudes right now. I think it's a very dicey and dangerous situation. And I think because of that, the Saints need to plan their future without him. He can make the adjustment because he's a brilliant football savant. He'll be just fine if he comes back from a mental perspective. He knows what he's doing. But they need to plan on life without Drew Brees, because I don't know if he's going to come back.
You got to be very worried about it, of course, if you're a Saints fan. And by the way, Drew Brees almost retired last year. And a lot of times when guys are thinking about retirement, like the old saying is, in a full contact violent sport, right? They're already retired. You can't kind of be half in and half out. And yet, Drew Brees is third in the league in total QBR this year, and that's with COVID hitting Emmanuel Sanders. They finally got him a number 2 receiver, so it's not Kamara anymore. He's still got Kamara. Michael Thomas has missed time. He's got Thomas. He's got Sanders. He's got Kamara. They brought in a linebacker at the trade deadline, Quan Alexander, to shore things up. I think everything you're saying is true. And yet, if it is 3 to 4 weeks, I think Drew Brees will be hungrier than ever. He will look at this as his last and best chance to add a second Super Bowl championship. If you look at the schedule, Falcons, Broncos, Falcons, Eagles coming up. Actually, then there's the Chiefs. I might just give him that week, too, because you're probably losing to the Chiefs anyway. You bring him back to play the Vikings and the Panthers just so he has a rhythm, because I think Jameis can go 2-2, let's say 2-3 over the next 5 weeks. He went 7-9 last year with the Bucs. And if he goes 2-3, you're still on pace for double-digit wins. You bring Drew Brees back for those last 2 games, get him ready, get him in rhythm for the playoffs. This team could win the Super Bowl this year. This could motivate him. He is tough as nails. He stayed out on the field with fractured ribs on both sides and a collapsed lung.
That's right.
And he's over 40. This could be the year for them, finally, where Drew Brees gets his second championship.
Yeah, my man Brees, tougher than $2 steak. Now, I mean, that cat he's tough to get back up from what he went through and to continue to play. Listen, I believe this team, if Jameis Winston has to start the next 6 games, I still think they go 2. This is a loaded football team outside of the quarterback position. And here's the one thing you do know about Sean Payton. Sean Payton likes some Sean Payton calls. He is an OG play caller, man. He gets it done. He knows how to get it done. All he has to tell Jameis Winston is, don't turn the ball over. Manage the game, right? You got Kamara, you guys named them. Thomas, Sanders, keep going throughout. On the defensive side of the ball, they can make plays, and they're getting better every week. Just don't try to overdo it. And if you look at what Jameis has done in the past, the turnovers have killed him, but the upside of him is really strong. And I think this is a resurrect your career moment for Jameis Winston. If other people in the league see how when he's coached he changes and develops his play, this could be special for both of them. But I'm with y'all. Don't rush Drew Brees back. There's no reason to come back in 2 and 3 weeks and take some shots, and then you can't recover for the playoffs. I think you let him ride until it's 100% healed, and then put him back in the game. He'll pick up in no time. I mean, the guy, he's one of those guys, you don't need OTAs. He has rhythm. He knows where to go with the ball. He knows the offense inside and out. Wait until he's 100% healed.
And we'll see if famous Jameis can take care of things in the meantime. Jeff, always good to see you. Thank you for your fractures and a collapsed lung. According to Ed Werder, the most optimistic timetable for Brees in terms of a return is 2 to 3 weeks, but the people involved are prepared for it to be longer, a source telling our Dan Graziano. I hear we have a Marcus Spears sighting. That's the rumor on the street. Oh, there's my guy. I miss you. I only see you on
What's
Tuesdays
up, my
now.
good
It's very
people?
sad, but you're doing your thing on NFL Live. We're good.
I know.
It's good. Max, talk
Yeah,
to
he's
me.
doing
what's
this
up,
thing on
Max? What's
NFL
up?
Live. He's doing this thing a lot of places.
show.
But I don't see him on First Take that much no more. I mean, damn, he done got big time and just left us, Molly. How
Y'all
about that,
already-
Molly
True.
and Max? I
Listen,
mean, damn.
it'll
What,
never-
I got to go to church to
it'll
find
never
Pastor Spears?
change.
That's what I got to do?
You do need church, but no.
It will never change. All y'all got to do is say the word. It will never change. Y'all know how loyal I am to y'all.
So
Just say
loyal
the
that
word.
you're in
It'll
Bristol
never
right now
change.
and not New York. But yeah,
You better be available when I call.
I'm in Virginia.
You better be available
Molly.
when I call.
My bad. I'm sorry. All right. Let's
It's a
stay focused,
pandemic out
everyone.
here.
This is starting to get
Okay,
personal, all right? It is a pandemic. It's crazy. Max, how worried should the Saints be now? This isn't looking good for Drew Brees.
They're going to be all right if people are right about the time that Drew Brees is out. If it's 3 to 4 weeks, something like that, they'll be fine. If it's the rest of the season, like if it's something like that, which they're not saying right now, but if it were, that's the whole shooting match. Does Drew Brees even come back? All those things. But if we're talking to 3 or 4 weeks, have you seen the Saints' schedule? By the way, it's not like Jameis has never had any success on an NFL level. He did lead the league in yards.
Here we go. You're going to pick up Jameis.
And touchdowns thrown. Well, I'm saying it's not like he's not a quarterback in the NFL. He's capable of playing quarterback, just not at a super high level. And he gives the other team a lot of points. But he also puts points on the board for your club. They have the Falcons, then they're on the road for 3 consecutive games, but it's against the Broncos, the Falcons, and the Eagles. So I'm going to say, though, they should be favored in all those games with Jameis.
Yeah.
And by the way, as much as we're told by Sean Payton, and on this show he told us, Taysom Hill. Yeah, right. Okay, let's see us start Taysom Hill now. Now's the chance. I don't think they really believe he's a quarterback, but he's an effective weapon. So if you think 3 of those games are on the road, let's say with Jameis you're going to go 2-2. Even though you'll be favored, but you'll go 2-2 in those games. Then you got the Chiefs. You're going to lose that game. Even with Drew Brees, you're going to lose that game. Vikings and Panthers, I don't know. I think you could win 2 out of those 3. I think you probably should, making you 11-5 on the season, or maybe 10-6. That should get you to the playoffs. And then if you have Drew Brees in the playoffs, and they traded for Quan Alexander, the linebacker, at the deadline, and they have Emmanuel Sanders and a complement of receivers now with not obviously Michael Thomas has a crime partner in Sanders, and you have Kamara, you could still win the Super Bowl. So I expect Jameis and Taysom Hill to hold it down where they win as much as they lose, at least, give or take, around 500. Drew Brees to come back, and they should be okay.
I'm sorry, I don't view it that way. A matter of fact, I think that the New Orleans Saints are on the cusp of huge change. I mean, you talk about 3 cracked ribs? I don't know the number. I mean, but he's got a couple of cracked ribs at the very least.
Both sides.
And a collapsed lung. And as a collapsed lung, and on top of that all, he's plus 40. Now, it amazes me, Molly, I don't know if you and Pastor Spears have picked up on this.
What?
But Pastor Spears, I think you'll give me an amen on this. Notice how Max talked about the cliff with Tom Brady that ultimately became the ravine. But when it comes to Drew Brees, cracked ribs and a collapsed lung, somehow, some way, you think he'll be fine. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. But having said all of that, I will say this. I will say this. Here's my thing. I believe this is very serious in this regard, in all seriousness, Max and Marcus. It's serious in the sense that I believe that Drew Brees, there's a question as to whether or not Drew Brees is going to come back sooner than later. And I think if that happens, this is it for Drew Brees. His career is over. He's going to walk away. Because if you've listened to him, if you've watched him with that beautiful family of his, there's only one reason he's playing. It ain't for the money. He's trying to get the chip just like he did in 2009. And if you've got serious questions about your health, this is the kind of situation, correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, because you played football, we didn't. Being on that football field, having cracked ribs and a collapsed lung. Could you imagine how scared his family is right now? Could you imagine the conversation that he's having with his wife? One of the most beautiful scenes, Molly, one of the most beautiful scenes that I've ever seen is one